Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 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 Promoter 101.
Dennis Offa. I'm on Promoter 101.
Promoter 101 is back, and we've got a good one, episode 151 coming at you, as we've got a featured interview this week from Portland, from Mississippi Studios. Talent buyer Matt King will be on the podcast. He is on the cutting edge of the club and ballroom business in one of the hottest music cities in the country, and we have him here telling all the secrets behind the success of Mississippi Studio and Revolution Hall.
Plus a war story with Fanscape's Larry Weintraub. So let's just jump right into it, Luke.
Hey, this is Rich Schaefer from AEG Presents, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Have you missed any of our past Promoter 101 episodes? Well, shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. That's okay. We got you covered. You can go to promoter101.net and we'll serve up any of the old past episodes archived there for you. This week, may we recommend episode number 90.
Ep 90 was a doozy. We had from ICM Partners, John Pleater, sharing his insights on Alice in Chains' success and his way of doing business in general. It was a great interview, Dan.
Plus, Live Nation Belgium's Herman Sherman, simply one of the biggest players in the world, sits down with us for a one-on-one interview.
Herman Sherman, what a name and what an interview as well. And finally, we had a war story from then APA's Noel Largess.
Hey, so if you have a free minute, please drop us a review or subscribe to Promoter 101, the podcast. Or tell a friend. Would you please?
This is Lee Goforth from CAA, and you're on Promoter 101.
In our first interview this week, we're going to kick it off with a war story from Fanscape's big dog, Larry Weintraub.
Hanging out with Larry Weintraub, and we're going to do a war story.
Right on. You know, it's funny whether or not this is a war story, but it's sort of a learning curve. I was learning the concert promotion business at UC San Diego. And as a kid, you know, being a college booker, we didn't really need to make money. If I broke even, it was good. The goal was to bring great shows to your college campus. Well, as a result, I was such a music junkie, I would try to book anything I could. So I would go after, at that time, Violent Femmes or Jane's Addiction or all these bands, and I would offer them, I guess what we considered ridiculous money at the time, but I wanted the show. And I would go to the agent and say, I want it. Here's the money.
And you're using the college's entertainment money anyway, which was there to lose, right?
Exactly right. Yes.
I mean, you just didn't have to have money left. Like, it was there to bring shows to the students.
Right. Of course, because I do have this entrepreneur gene, I always wanted to make a little bit money, you know, so that I would have a war chest for later on. But yeah, I could definitely spend a lot more money on the show than maybe the promoter in town. So much so that I kept putting in these huge offers. One day, Bill Silva called me, who was the big promoter in San Diego. None too happy. Let's just say that. Bill, I think I had to put the phone away from my head as he screamed at me saying, kid, you're messing with my livelihood. You don't know what you're doing. You got your college over there. This is my career. I remember being really mad at the time and like, who is this guy? You know, I'm just providing talent. And as I step back now in my life, I go, oh, yeah, I really was messing with him. That wasn't very nice. And Bill has been very good to me over the years. But at the time,
I've never heard Bill yell.
Yes.
For the record, possibly one of the most charming people on the planet, certainly in the industry.
Again, I give him full due. We're friends. We have been friends for many years. If I were him, I wasn't a very big fan of Larry Weintraub in his college days. Yeah, for that reason.
Learn by doing.
Yeah.
Hey, Larry's going to be back next week for a full interview, so watch for that Monday. He is just an impressive mover and shaker in the industry, and one of my oldest friends in the biz, Mr. Larry.
This is Christine Marshall from CAA, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
Promoter 101 Flashbacks.
Episode 56.
Jay Williams.
It doesn't do anybody any good to put shows on top of each other. And sometimes it's inevitable. When that happens, there's a whole, another marketing discussion that goes on. And usually both parties seem to be happy if you can work it out. But when you work in a vacuum, it doesn't help anybody. So we've gotten so much more communicative in our office among the other guys that have arena headliners and are every day, can you move that hold? Because I need this. And it's a very collaborative environment for sure.
Tweets of the week.
Hey, I hope you're ready because it's time for some tweets of the week. Let's check out what's going on in the mind of Dan Steinberg. Let's start here. The most important part of any business is to ask for the sale.
Most people imply the sale, but you got to go the extra step and actually ask for the sale. Fish just don't jump in the boat. You got to put the line in there and bait it. It's important.
The most profitable call that I've ever been on was one that a competitor did not return.
You have to return every call. Be nice to everyone, or at least try. It's hard. Guilty. I'm not perfect, but try.
This one was ghostwritten for Dan. Take your business seriously so others will too.
It was? Who ghostwrote it for me?
I'm kidding. It's not ghostwritten for you.
I'm having that day. If you act like your business is not professional, everyone else will too. Keep an eye out for that.
Hey, and this final one here, get a real website.
Your Facebook page just isn't going to cut it. You want to put a full professional look. Have your own platform. It's important.
That'll just about do it for Tweets of the Week. Make sure you keep up with Dan on Twitter. He's at The Jew.
This is Craig Bruck from ICM Partners at Promoter 101.
Join us next for our featured interview. We've got all the way from Portland, Oregon, the talent buyer for Mississippi Studios and Revolution Hall, Matt King. He is on the cutting edge of the club and ballroom business, and we've got him here on this podcast to tell us the secrets behind the success of one of Portland's hottest clubs. Welcome to the podcast.
Dude, how are you doing?
Dan, I'm great today. It's a beautiful day in Portland. Go Blazers. It's great to see you. It's been over a year since we last saw each other.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Portland is the market where cool stuff happens. It's weird. It's fun. A little Austin, a little liberal, and a little bit we love music more than most.
Oh, I think it's true. I look at sales across the country, and I'm always surprised to see how strong Portland sales are. I mean, a lot of acts that'll do the same numbers in New York as it does in Portland. So that shows me that Portland has a really dedicated music fan base.
There are a lot of promoters here. You've got Monkey, who's really kind of invented the cool show vibe in Portland long ago. They're the godfathers of the Lollapalooza shows here, right? Everybody promotes, for the most part, across the region. Everybody talks. So you've got the Monkey guys, you've got Thrasher here, you've got Double T here, who is literally the Bill Graham of the market. David Lakin's been doing it forever. You got Mark Adler, who you work with, who has the Aladdin, who does the AAA stuff, middle of the road, the Lyle Lovitz and what have you. And then you've got all of these new clubs that are popping up, right? So you've got brand new room like Rev Hall, which you're involved with, Mississippi Studios, which is a higher end version of the nightclub scene that this market really kind of yearned for. You've got another club just like that in the Doug Fir that you guys don't book, but the market host. And then classic rooms like the Wonder, Aladdin. There's so many options here until you get to the Crystal and Roseland. It's just like 1,500 seats down to 300. There are a lot of options in this market. Dante's Star, it's very competitive.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone has kind of found their own niche. I don't find myself butting heads with Mike Thrasher often or Double T. And I think a lot of it's just, you know, the promoters and the buyers choosing to do what they want to do, what they're passionate about. And I feel like everyone's kind of really found their own place, which has been great. I certainly am competitive and have competitors here in the market going after that, you know, cool show vibes, something that I definitely want to go after.
Well, I think everybody wants the cool shows, right? And it gets a little competitive sometimes to the point where it's like, how little are you willing to work for to get that show? And, you know, how much are you going to cut into your bar to get that show? And is it going to pack my room? It's like kind of competitive, and everybody kind of owns their own rooms here too.
Definitely. I recently offered 100% from $1 to an act that I really wanted that was really cool. Convinced my bosses that that was going to be okay this one time only, and I still lost the show. So, I mean, there are definitely people getting aggressive, and I've heard stories about people offering 110% of the door to get, you know, a super rad legacy act into a 1,500 cap club.
It's like, I guess you're going to have some other deal going on, the bar or ticketing or something to help carry the way on the ancillaries if you're giving away over 100% of the door.
I mean, if it's cool enough, it's like buying an ad for your club and your business.
And so it's a loss leader.
Absolutely a loss leader.
Critical mass when you're doing that.
Absolutely. I think cool looks and being the cream of the milk, you know, floating to the top, takes effort, it takes guts. I think it's totally worth it because you want people to associate, you know, your venue or your business with doing cool things.
And let's talk about the venues you're involved with. So we originally met when you were booking Verbati's Pan, which is one of my favorite all-time clubs.
Man, classic Portland room. I miss that place. So many of my favorite all-time shows happened in that room in the early aughts. It was a good experience, definitely a learning experience booking Verbati's for a couple of years.
Yeah, when I moved to the Northwest, I learned Portland through places like Verbati's Pan, and I loved doing shows there. This is always a fun thing where it's like, what can you put in this room and how many people can we squeeze in? I feel like we got a big ass shoehorn and we just kept squeezing them in.
Like the subway trains in Japan, they've got the pusher to squeeze people in.
Yeah, just go, 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 go.
Man, that room, though, did not have air conditioning, and they would push 700 people into a 550 cap room sometimes. And all the condensation from the sweat would just drip from the ceiling. So, I mean, in my mind, that's the epitome of a rock box.
Yeah, and it was hard to see the stage if you weren't like right up fucking on it. But, better production rooms, but you could do a show really cheap at Verbati's Pan, and in some cases that's what it calls for. You want to keep that ticket price down.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was a great rock room. I know that they had Kanye do a show there once, not a rock act. Wolf Mother. I mean, these were shows I wasn't involved with.
Yeah,
but
Queens of the Stone Age played there back in the day when I was doing a serious amount of club volumes.
I think, one of my favorite shows that I ever saw there was the Hold Steady, right when they came out. I mean, it was just kind of like...
Dido played there, yeah.
Yeah, just like a great room for catching that artist at that right time.
Okay, so Verbati's, where you cut your teeth.
Right. I actually had a club job before that, a little room. Trevor Solomon, who's been a guest on your show, helped me get my first gig at this little 150 cap club called Town Lounge. It was a really cool little room. It was in, kind of a sleepy part of town. That's where I first met, a lot of the agents that I still work with today, because they would go to Trevor, hey, I need help finding a room for this act. And he would send them my way.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, Trevor was very instrumental in like getting the ball rolling for me.
Moved on to amazing things with Boston Callings. Trevor's got a great thing going on these days. But
yeah, I keep threatening to go visit him. We both have young sons, so I think it would be fun for those guys to meet.
Play date.
Yep. Play date in Boston.
Core of this business is those relationships that you started early, the guys you did favors for that remember you and continue to feed you as they get bigger too.
I mean, they were doing me favors at the same time too. My favorite relationships I consider two-way streets, it's, wow, we all really were high on this artist, but for whatever reason, it didn't sell a lot of tickets like in the market. They throw me a bone on something else, or, I keep buying their artist. It's definitely a relationship thing, and it's only a good relationship if we're both winning.
Who are the agents that were super supportive of you early?
Oh, gosh. Early on, Andrew Morgan's been a great agent. Jackie Nalpant's been a great agent. The Ground Control people were great from the get-go. The first agent I ever wrote was Botch. I had no idea that he owned Billions. I did not have my wits about me when I started reaching out. I thought it'd be great to have Stephen Malcolmus play a 150 cap club because he lived in town at the time. So I hit up Botch, and, he kind of set me straight and let me know that, hey, that's not super realistic, but I think it's great that you reached out. And that was the first email I ever wrote to an agent.
So you're getting into business, you're moving up, you went from Verbati's, and Verbati's wound up shuttering, which was too bad because it was really well needed for the scene. And now I think it's turned into a dance club, I believe, for the ladies. Gentlemen's club, as they call it. Portland has a few of those.
Yeah, quite a number.
And you move into the world of Mississippi Studios, which is a clean, upscale, and yet very hot venue with amazing bands breaking out of there.
Booking Mississippi Studios absolutely has been the best thing in my career. I absolutely love putting shows on in that room. I love all of the positive responses we get from artists that play. I hear the stage sound is best they've heard on tour constantly. I never have a problem there. It's easy to sell tickets. It's in a great part of town. It's a world-class facility. It's an absolutely wonderful 300 cap club. I've never had any problem building relationships, filling the calendar. It's everything I want in a club.
My biggest problem with Mississippi Studios is finding it in Vail. I love doing shows there. I never have complaints from acts. They're always happy. Good hospitality, good vibe, friendly to the staff. Acts like playing there. They come back and we're trying to talk them up. They're like, can we do multiples? I'm like, we can try, but I don't think we're going to find 2 nights back to back unless we start 6-7 months out.
Even then, I mean, I started dropping holds for June 2020 this week.
That's amazing.
In a 300 cap club.
Yeah, it's hard. We got to really book out far, and you're great about that. It's like usually I can get an avail back from you in 5 or 6 minutes, so I know if you have it or not. But it's one of those things. It's like, man, you book out far, and that's cool. That's a great sign that acts love playing your room.
I mean, that's music to my ears. Being in such high demand, it makes the room easier to book and more prestigious.
So you've got a cool room, and your ownership has spiraled that into a sequel club of a bigger size, Rev Hall.
Mm-hmm. Revolution Hall.
Excuse me, Revolution Hall.
Everyone calls it Rev Hall. I just want to get the branding clear.
I've been doing shows in there for a couple of years now since you guys opened, but the first time in my life I stepped foot in there last night.
Princess, your show, how was it?
Great. Maya Rudolph is amazing as Prince. It's a really fun night. I love the lockers. I love the vibe of the old school, but like completely redone. Everything's clean and gorgeous, and it reminded me of a smaller version of a venue on Birdside that I wish had been redone correctly. But it's gorgeous. It must be really cool to get to work in a room that nice.
I have an office in that building, and that was a significant step up from my previous office, so that's nice. I've got a lot of daylight.
I love that room. It's cool. We definitely want to do more there. And you can seat it too. We've done like comedy and cool stuff like that. So very versatile, but last night it was all of a dance party.
It's an absolutely versatile killer room. It's wonderful for comedy. I've done so many great comedy shows there.
Yeah, and it seems like it's growing as a national reputation. So now you get this great runway from this 300-seater into this beautiful 800-seater. It seems like there's plenty of room to grow in the market, which is really surprising because it competes with the Wonder Ballroom, which is a pretty close size, and also does some seriously cool shows. But that's a lot of volume in the market, and getting avails at either is really tough. So, and even the Aladdin is a similar size too. It's just amazing the number of venues that are impossible to get avails at that are running that much traffic through them.
Well, we're all working real hard. I mean, clearly the industry has shifted with Spotify and Napster to talk like an older guy. People have to get out on the road to make their money, so...
Did you just reference Napster?
I sure did.
Is that a throwback, or is Napster hip again?
No, Napster's not hip. It's not existent. I'm just saying, the artists have to be on the road more.
Right, because it's certainly not about selling records anymore as much as it should be.
And if you're not at the top of the triangle, you're not making money on streams.
Right, and, can they follow you on MySpace or Friendster?
I never had a Friendster, and MySpace, I think, is officially shut down. Is it? Didn't they lose a bunch of music?
They lost the music. I think they're still up as a site, though.
Well, yeah, you can find me on MySpace. I'll try and check in and accept your friend request.
If I can find that password. All right. You're in a business, and the thing that we don't do enough of, and I'm really excited that you're here, is because we have a lot of the icons that have been in the business for 30 years and talk about how they got to the arena and stadium level business. But what we don't feature on enough on the show is people that have been in the business and have got past that border to entry. The first couple of years were hard, and they're actually in the loop. And you're through that. You've had a couple of years of good success where you're booking real rooms. You've got your credibility, but you remember what it was like to make those first phone calls to Botch and try and get those shows, and your first phone calls to Jackie, because it hasn't been 20 years.
No, it hasn't. I've been booking shows for 11 years now. I do remember going to Kinko's to fax contracts because I didn't have a fax machine. Hanging and designing my own posters. So I definitely respect the hustle. I feel it's a game of persistence. You have to absolutely be passionate about working in the business, or it's going to be a grind for you.
Do you network with other buyers around the country?
I do, of course, yeah. Mostly in Austin and Seattle and New York.
Okay.
I found that just from visiting, those are the places I visit the most. And, I'll go check out the clubs and reach out to the people that run those clubs and, get the free passes and like, let's meet up and grab a drink before the show.
So what are your favorite clubs in other markets?
Gosh, I lived in Brooklyn for a minute. We did a Deerhoof show together when I was living in Brooklyn and interning with Panache. There was a great block in Williamsburg that had Death by Audio, 285 Kent, Glasslands, and all of those clubs. That was like the heart of the Brooklyn indie scene. But all those clubs were in the same block, and all of it got demolished for the new Vice corporate headquarters. So Vice, this great cultural icon or whatever is coming in, but yet they're demolishing
all the art,
the indie subculture of Brooklyn.
Yeah, you got to be a little confused about that one.
Yeah. I mean, so that area of venues in New York is one of my favorites of all time. Austin's great. I love going to South by Southwest. I love going to all those clubs. They're all kind of a little dumpy compared to the clubs here in Portland, but I think the vibe is great in Austin.
I feel like they're all kind of dumpy.
They're not spiffy.
Spiffy, an underused word in the industry.
So I'm going to bring it back. #spiffy.
Now, you're starting to promote outside of your room a little bit?
A lot, yeah, quite a bit actually, with Mark Adler from the Aladdin. So I work with Mark. I'm one of his employees. I'm also employed by Mississippi Studios, who owns Rev Hall. Mark Adler's a co-owner of Rev Hall. So I'm doing a lot of Aladdin, and because of my relationship with Mark and True West, I'm able to grow my acts into the Crystal or the Roseland, the 1,500 cap level. I've got Mac DeMarco coming up in Eugene and Portland tomorrow, in Portland at the Schnitzer, which is close to 3,000 cap theater, a McDonald theater, which is more of a club down in Eugene. Mark's been great. He's taught me a lot about the business that I didn't know before. I never really had outside of Trevor, who was great, obviously, but he wasn't coaching me up on how to put together an offer for the Schnitzer, which can be a pain in the butt with facility fees and all of the nuance to dealing with the venue like that.
It's cool to see you doing shows there now. As the bands develop and you continue to build the relationships, they get bigger, you get bigger. It's kind of a fun thing.
Right. Yeah. One of the acts that I was most proud of working with and seeing amazing success was Billie Eilish. She obviously, just exploded this year. And I had worked with her. She first supported a show at the old church. And then I did a little all ages 300 cap club. And then we were doing the 1500 cap. And gosh, now she's just like the biggest pop star going, and Live Nation bought the entire tour. So that's something I can't really kick myself about. It's hard to compete on that level.
Yeah, I know it's a little frustrating when that happens from time to time, but like it happened to me on No Doubt first time. And you see those things where it's like the bands get bigger and they play for the bigger promoters. And at the moment you're like, man, this really sucks. I could have done that show. And you start to realize some of the intensive marketing tricks that are implied nationally and understand why maybe the bands made those decisions.
Oh, I totally understand why the bands would make that decision.
And sometimes there's a pretty big check involved too.
I mean, heck, it's also like I did something right. I'm losing an act to the biggest promoter in the world. It's better than losing an act to your local competition.
It's an interesting way to think about it.
Sure.
I always hated losing shows to the local comp, so I get that. So what's the goal? Where are you going with this? What's the hope?
Where do I want to go? I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I want to keep doing what I'm doing, continue to grow, work with the acts that I want to work in. I'd like to book in more markets than just Portland. I've been dipping my toe into Eugene. Seattle would be fun. As far as right now, man, I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I think I've got the best job in the city, and I just want to get better at what I do.
What an awesome, refreshing opinion of the market and where you're at with it. I love that. Do you have any advice for some of the younger guys coming up behind you on how to build some longevity?
I mean, have persistence. Don't be annoying. Be willing to work harder than everyone else. I think that's really what got me to where I am is I never stopped working. It can be frustrating. I just think you have to be aggressive and keep going for it and be legit about it. Yeah, great. You put together a block party with 30 bands no one's ever heard of and like 40 people came out. No one cares. Like get one band that sells 300 tickets and do that consistently, and then everyone cares.
Thank you so much for taking time and talking to us.
Dan, thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show.
Matt's a friend, and I've had the privilege of watching him grow from a C-level venue in Portland to an A venue that he's at now programming Mississippi Studio. So thrilled to have him here with us on Promoter 101.
Hi, this is Rebecca Shapiro. I'm a senior VP at Shorefire Media, and I am on Promoter 101.
Hey, that'll do it for episode 151 of Promoter 101. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to our listeners out there and to our wonderful guests this week. All the way from Portland and Mississippi Studios and Revolution Hall, Matt King, plus Fanscape's Larry Weintraub. We appreciate you coming on the podcast.
We'll be back Monday at 5 Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. on the coast.
That's right. Join us for that podcast. We'll have a full interview from Fanscape's Larry Weintraub. He'll be discussing everything from the big business days of the record business to artist management to branding. It's going to be a great conversation. We hope you tune in.
Until then, we're wishing you sold out shows for the week to come. Cheers.
Call your mother.
David Galea, United Talent Agency. I'm on Promoter 101.